Stiff Truth. Welcome to the Stiff Truth, episode fucking 90. Woo! Who would have thought we would have had the commitment to make it to episode 90 on our third season? Goddamn, Scott, it's good to see your face. It's good to hear your voice. Thank you for joining us here at the Stiff Truth. How you doing, Scott?
I'm good, buddy. Feeling good. And you know what? You're right, man. I'm impressed we made it past 5 episodes, to be honest with you here. So I've been on a snowball effect of just being super impressed with ourselves here. But no, feeling great, bud. Little time off. Everybody probably knows we didn't do a show for a couple of weeks. A little downtime, a little well needed and well deserved. Well needed. Yeah, we just had some downtime. We did get to see each other, which is nice. We actually got to have some drinks in the flesh together, which was fun. And we put down some drinks too, I might add. I'm very impressed with us there. I mean, I'm just impressed all over the place today. And you're a big part of that, Bob. So kudos to you, my friend.
What you drinking there?
Oh man, this one, I'm super pumped about this one. And we stumbled on this one by accident. Let's just say what it is here. I got to give props to Likeable Cocktails on TikTok. I can't remember the chick's name that made this drink, but oh my God, right here, we've got, sir, an Irish old fashioned, a nice little spin on the traditional old fashioned with an Irish little element to it. And it is really, really tasty. What I was going to say when we were getting ready for the show, as I'm sipping down here, just loving it, I may like this rendition better than the original. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now, Bob. What about you?
I don't know about better, but it's definitely a worthy drink. It's definitely worthy to be called an old fashioned of any variety. It's very good. So, it doesn't have a whole lot of, fruit in there. Just like it's a subtle bit of orange. Just a little twist of the rind, rubbing the rind on the rim of the glass.
Rubbing that rind on the rim, baby.
But the aromatic effect that it has when you take that drink, it's substantial. So it definitely matters. I bought oranges just because of this drink because we were out anyway. But I did get that. Very good. I would have to say that the chocolate bitters is no fucking joke. Like, it does not take much. Just a few drops is really all you need in this drink. My Fee Brothers, as you can see right there.
There you go.
Brothers. It didn't come out very well, so I gave it a shake a couple of times. And I might have shaken it a little bit too much. Kind of like I was warned about when I was growing up.
That's what she said too. But yeah, it's funny. I gave mine a little bit of a shimmy. I didn't really shake it much, and I got a little extra to come out of there. But yeah, I've got to be really honest with everybody here. I feel like I've busted through a new level of bartender aficionado school here with just the extent to bitters, bro. I honestly thought there was aromatic bitters, and that was about it. I'll be very honest with you. If you quizzed me and said, hey, what kind of bitters are there? I probably would have thought there's more than one, but I would have just honed in on like the orange bitters or just the regular shit that you get. I had no idea there's literally like over a dozen different types of standard bitters that you can use. And I really didn't know what we're getting into here. But when I called you yesterday, when I was shopping for some of this stuff, I had to like sit there and stare at the bitters for like a good 10 minutes. I tend to do this anyways when I shop. I get like shopping paralysis when there's too many options. But you're right, dude. It's very good. And I was just telling you earlier here, I might start just throwing like chocolate bitters in random drinks to see how it meshes, because I really like this Mary here, so to speak.
Yeah, it would be interesting in drinks with amaretto, I think. I think it would give it kind of that chocolate covered cherry taste. So we'll have to play around with some amaretto and chocolate bitters too. I agree. I'm not well versed in the bitters, and we've been opening up more and more and going a little bit deeper on the depth chart in the bartender book as we've gone along.
I like that, the depth chart. I like that. Very
this one's not actually in the bartender's book.
No.
It is not, but it is a drink. It's out there. It'll probably be in the next rendition, but it's enticing us to dig deeper with the bitters and dig deeper with our cocktails. Diving down further into the connoisseur ship, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
I probably just went George Bush and made that word up. That's okay. That's okay.
I understood what you meant and I liked it. So there's that. Well, and the other really interesting thing here, Bob, is you are not a stranger to making your own simple syrup for your whiskey sours.
Right.
I know you're a big fan of that. Myself, never made the any kind of simple syrup. So the other thing that was really enticing about this drink, and again, we'll have to share the gentleman who kind of ran through this drink or whatever. Pretty cool guy. I follow him now on TikTok because he just does a bunch of different drinks, which is pretty cool. Hey, what are you doing over there?
So this came from the Chaotic Cocktails.
Yes, that's the gentleman right there
on TikTok. And
yes.
We'll be posting the link to it on our Facebook page so that everyone can see it. They have a lot of drinks. I think they're kind of a go-to follow for all of our stiffies out there.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to go ahead and tell everyone, if you're not following Chaotic Cocktails, then shame on you. So
you're kind of a piece of shit. I mean, I don't want to be an asshole about it, but I just like to call it like it is. This is the stiff truth, right? No, absolutely. Good shout out there. But again, the interesting thing here and what makes this an Irish old fashioned, the simple syrup is a homemade simple syrup of Imperial Stout. Imperial Stout is no punk bitch either. We got the same one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but you've got
Samuel
it right
Smith's Imperial Stout.
7% alcohol, no punk bitch from England. But yeah, it's literally a 1-to-1, half a cup of sugar. Me and Bob used baking stevia. I think we both used the stevia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we like to watch our girlish figures, of course, naturally. And then a half cup of the Imperial Stout. Heat that shit up. Get the sugar to dissolve in there. Let it cool down. And then very simply here, we got 2 ounces of Irish whiskey. You can see Bob's right there, which is a really nice one. What's that one again? Egan's?
This one's Egan's. Yeah. Oh, sorry. My screen's backwards. This one's Egan's, and not much. A $30 bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
It was just, I wanted something other than Jameson. Obviously, I just always buy Jameson, and not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you. So I wanted to try some different whiskeys and get out there. Almost went with the 10-year.
Yeah.
But I figured I'd start here. Probably next time I'll pick up one of those 10 years that I saw. But it was a pretty solid whiskey. I took a couple of shots last night with Scott, virtually, of course.
Yes,
but I was surprised at the quality of this. Definitely hands. Well, definitely, I lost my euphemism there, but definitely better than Kirkland's fucking Irish whiskey. I'm sorry, it's just dog shit, and that's the stiff truth.
Yeah. We'll step out of the drink here just for a minute to point out, we may have pointed out before, but we know anybody that listens to the show knows me and Bob praise the Costco liquor purchasing department, but they just did a horrible job with their Irish whiskey opposed to everything else. But yeah, you're right. I actually got an Irish whiskey and I can't even remember the name of it, but it's in a nice little gold tin and I got it from Costco for like $23, but it's very nice. Couple ounces of Irish whiskey. Then with that Imperial Stout simple syrup, 3/4 of an ounce of that, a dash or a shimmy or a shake, whatever you want to do, of chocolate bitters. The guy that made this also used black walnut bitters, but we did not. We went with the OG, and then stir that shit up till the glass is nice and chilled. Pour that into a nice little glass with a little bit of ice, and then finish off with a little orange rind that you kind of express and like you said, kind of just take it across the rim, so to speak. Take it around the world around that rim. And there you go. And there it is. The Irish
ever so gently give your glass that rim job with the orange peel.
I'll tell you what, though, that Imperial Stout simple syrup, that's something I might just have on file for these kind of drinks. Again, I'm kind of feeling how you could incorporate this simple syrup into anything milk-based, Bailey's-based, Galliano-based even. I'm going to just kind of open up the floodgates here. I would even like to try some of this chocolate bitters in like the Italian stallion drink with some scotch and some Galliano.
Or Colorado Bulldog or Russian.
Oh.
Right? Mix it up there. The palates are really, really meshing here. You got a Irish whiskey called Teeling.
There it is.
You sent me a lovely picture of it when you bought it. We try to align ourselves pretty close when we're making these drinks. We don't want to stray too far. sometimes we have to because of we don't shop at the same store, but
That's true. That's true. Well, and I'm very proud of you too, Bob. I just got to point this out. Preliminary kind of research on this. You were planning on using just some standard small batch bourbon whiskey from Tennessee, no doubt. I
and
believe.
a Guinness.
So, yeah. You were really doing the blue light special of Kmart version of this drink initially, but then you came correct, and God bless you, because now with the integrity of the drink, I'm sure you feel better, right? I would have to imagine.
And when I'm done, I can make another one of these bad boys. I was going to say too, with the homemade simple syrup. So what you have there, throw that thing in a jar of. I keep old simple syrup jars that I buy from the store, and I fill up those with my simple syrup with a funnel. Right. So just throw this stout syrup in an old simple syrup jar or any jar you can have right now, and just label that shit with a marker, and there you go. Put it in the bar fridge, and you're good to go.
I might do that I might just make the rest of the bottle of beer that I have, because honestly, I'm not an Imperial Stout fan. I'm just going to come out and say that right now. I think Imperial Stouts kind of taste like dog shit, but that's okay. And that's just by itself as a beer. By the way, Bob, just to let everybody know, this is not an old thing. It's been around for a while, but I picked myself up some of the signature Belching Beaver Deftones beer, the Phantom Bride IPA. It's quite pleasant, and I'm not a huge fan of IPAs. I used to be when I was more of a douchebaggery kind of home brewer about 10, 12 years ago, but I kind of grew out of that, and I really appreciate more the lager, the light, just the refreshing type beers right now. But I was pleasantly surprised, Bob, that was actually a nice finish, not too heavy on the bitter hoppy aftertaste. And beyond that, just to kind of like tee things up with a beautiful kind of experience, I went outside last night. You may have saw the picture that I posted on Instagram, but me and Jamie had a couple of these beers, cracked them open, and then I literally just brought my Bose speaker out there and threw Phantom Bride by Deftones on the fucking radio right there, and enjoyed my Phantom Brides while listening to Phantom Bride. It did bring a single tear to my eye, and it was just gorgeous, Bob. You got to try it.
Yeah, and I'm actually pulling up a picture right now, so I'm going to throw that up here just so that everyone can see that shit.
Oh, man. But hey, it's good to be back. Am I right here? Having some great cocktails, chatting it up.
It kind of seems like it's been a while.
It has been a while. I want to say over a couple of weeks, but we're back in action, and we got a lot to talk about today. So I think we should just go ahead and get right into it. And first and foremost here, I got to know. I mean, I definitely want to talk about the slap heard round the world, so to speak. So we're going to get into that in a minute, obviously. But Bob, you've been cranking now, I want to say for close to a month. There you go. On the, there it is. Look at that. That is gorgeous.
Oh, sorry, a little promo for Chino and the gang.
Yeah, appreciate it. And as you know, they need all the help they can get from us. But Bob, tell us how things are going now, as I believe you're about a month deep, no pun intended here, on the bidet. But how are things going? Are you regular? Are you extra regular? Are you getting ballsy now? Are you kind of stepping out and doing some things you've never done before?
I've got to say, I've learned the perfect angle to just like to bullseye that shit. I can hit that shit like Meredith from the Brave.
Yeah.
I can split an arrow in the crescent of my butthole, and it's never been better. I never realized how I brutalized myself with American ideology of wiping, textiles on my rectum.
It makes it sound so abrasive. I love that.
Until I've really gotten into the bidet, and man, I'm never going back. It's just I clean with water. I've learned to like find the appropriate amount of pressure for the event that just went down. So not all events are the same when you have a bowel movement there. So the bidet some calls for a little more pressure than otherwise.
When Bob says event, he means a nasty shit, just for everybody out there that's not reading between the lines. Go ahead, Bob.
And sometimes you need a little bit of pressure for, as our mutual friend put it, to clean the mud out of the shag carpet.
Weird. Now, you know what's interesting? I don't know if anybody's ever seen shag carpet, maybe that listens to the show here that's in podcast world. But yeah, that's a pretty good analogy there because that's tough sledding. You know what I mean? And you do need a high pressure kind of washer to get that job done. Well, let me ask you this, Bob, because you sent me a nice video earlier this week too. Do you also incorporate the squatty potty, which I've been a big fan of now for I want to say about 10 years. I think they're great. Just elevate those legs, right?
I don't have one, but I have researched it and I've seen how it like corrects your posture to help direct the flow, right?
Helps push it down the hill.
I think I'm gonna pick one up. I think I'm gonna get one, or make one. I mean, I do have tools, and I could just buy some wood and put one together real quick too. Stain it, make it nice, whatever. But I do think I'm gonna add that in there. I've sometimes I have issues down there. Sometimes I'm getting older. Sometimes I'm a little more sensitive down there.
Let me set the stage real quick too. Bob sometimes spends the entire day just eating blocks of cheese, and sometimes he has green chili on them too.
You have to pay the price for that, right? Years of abuse and punishment and neglect. So, but since I've been using the bidet, like I've got like zero issues down there. Like I told you, Scott, very inappropriately on the phone, I have the asshole of a 12-year-old boy, and I'm proud of it.
Oof! Wow. If that's not the soundbite of all sound bites from the show right now. Wait, did he say he was in the ass of a 12-year-old boy? Oh, he has the ass of a 12-year-old boy. Okay, that's a little bit better.
Can we get little squeegee to make us a new sound for that?
I think we might be able to reach out to get a new remix done because and here's the other thing I was going to say. We were taking the advice of what we thought was a professional butt washer about a year and a half ago. Cardi B no longer with wiping it clean with your finger. That seems kind of barbaric.
Well, I think that's a combo tactic.
Oh, is
right?
It?
I think that's not an or, but an and. Oh. Right? I think if you take that dual approach, maybe then you're living your best life.
You're all perfect angle. Then wipe it clean. Yes,
that's okay. That's right.
Okay, so again, it sounds like the incorporation of the bidet and soon to be the squatty potty. And sidebar here, you could just use a step stool for now. You know what I mean? And fucking prop your legs.
I don't think we focus enough on our bowel movements as Americans.
Because
they do in other countries. I think we just kind of put it as a sidebar here in America, and I think that's a shame. I think we're not raising our children right. I think we need to guide them in a better direction and give them more insight in the adult life.
That's the big takeaway so far in the show.
It's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids. Take better care of your shits in your butthole, and if you do, your butthole will have a kind of fountain of youth kind of appeal to it, and it'll reverse age like Benjamin Button is kind of what
I don't know if they have it, but I feel like I just had some sort of anal rejuvenation surgery. I don't even know.
Wow. Well, they have the vaginal rejuvenation surgery that kind of tighten things up, so to speak, after there's a bunch of flaps down there. Oh my goodness, Bob. Well, hey, you've got me more than curious. You've got me interested, Bob, on making a modification to the toilet upstairs. Now, here's the weird thing. Elizabeth is not that young anymore. She's almost 8 years old now here in the summertime. If I had a much younger of a child, I would be a little bit worried that she would be drinking from the bidet. And I don't need none of that shit. Is there any kind of child guard or safety that comes equipped here, or do you just have to kind of teach proper bidet?
No, so in the end, it's just water, and it's not too gross because it actually it's like separate from your toilet, right? So mine just has these two little spots, right? Because there's a his and a hers setting for the bidet, depending on the angle of the spray that comes down. There's two different ones, right? And it's separate from the actual toilet, right? I mean, yeah, there's still splash, it's still not sanitary, but in my experience, my 5-year-old doesn't mess with that because poopy gross, right? But she did want to try it.
Boy, she's got a lot to learn. Poopy gross. I mean,
she did want to try it, right?
Yeah.
So we put her on there to try it or whatever, and she's just too little. The angle's all wrong. Just kind of splashing everywhere. I had to like move her, and it's just not really made for kids, right? Now, there's different bidets that you could buy a bidet, but you're in a pretty good place in life when you start looking at a construction crew installing hot and cold water in your $3,000 toilet.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I'm not there yet. I'm just not there.
And that's okay. You'll get there. Look, you don't worry. Just keep those goals fresh. You know what I mean?
You got to have goals. It's all about iterative gains in life, right?
100%.
Small goals.
Well, and if anybody doesn't really know, the way I think about it, if anybody's a Star Wars fan, the way the bidet is set up is it's kind of like, when they're flying the plane and they can bring down that little target radar thing on their eye or whatever on their helmet. That's kind of how the bidet is. You can kind of swing it into action when it's needed.
And no, mine's hard installed.
Oh, it is.
So it is just there all the time, and you just turn the knob on and off to whatever. Oh,
really?
I told you to try it when you were out here, but
yeah,
I think it intimidated you a little.
It really did. Well, here's the other thing too. I think initially it might need to be on my throne for me to feel comfortable using it. Or just
you don't want to go commando on another man's bidet. I get
that might be true. Well, what if I got a little bit of extra, like just dirty, filthy mud, after an excursion of the butthole, so to speak, and I leave a big mess. I mean,
hold on. I hate to interrupt you, but do you really think that you could get my toilet worse than I can get in my toilet?
Challenge accepted. Look, give me about a day and a half to do some really good, just eating like a complete dickhead, and I think I might be able to give it a go. But no, all the same, we're gonna keep this conversation going. For now, we're gonna kick this can down the road a little bit here because I do want to get into what everybody's been talking about over the past week. And look, first of all, I just got to say this. I love the people that come out and be like, who gives a fuck about Will Smith and Chris? Who cares about the Oscars? I was like, okay, that's fine. You're much better than everybody. All the people that are spouting
as
that
you're
off right
commenting on the fucking post.
Exactly. Shut your fucking mouth. You're so unique. Go play with your mustache. Whatever you got to do here. I get it. But it was for anybody that's paid attention. Well, let's just call it over the last 20, 30 years of the Academy Awards. It's a very formal, very prestigious event. Call it what it is. It is the pinnacle of a movie star and or anybody in film production's career in life. This is what they aspire to do. This is what they go through trenches and all kinds of crazy amounts of work and blood, sweat, and tears.
It's the pinnacle of recognition for their craft.
To get to the point where you can be taken seriously on the world stage amongst your peers and just get that nod of saying, you know what, not only did you do this well, we think this year you did it better than anybody else. So congratulations, you've done a great job. So there's that. And it's like, I know everybody's seen this unless they're living under a rock, but yeah, Will Smith went a little bit nutty, smacked Chris Rock across the face after he said what I think was a child's play fucking softball of a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. Let's just face it, dude. She's got alopecia. And here, I'm just going to say that this is a stiff truth of mine.
He wasn't talking about like her alopecia beaver or something, you know what I
mean? Right. But he could have, and it would have been still funny to me because here's the other thing. Alopecia, BFD, big fucking deal. It's not life-threatening. She hasn't suffered from it her entire life. Last I checked, she's had hair up until about 6 months ago. It doesn't hurt. It's not going to be debilitating to the extent where it's going to, like depreciate her existence or anything. It's literally just something she has to deal with after she's already rich and famous and has all these fucking accolades and pedigree that a lot of people will never get to have in their life. I don't want to hear this woe is me bullshit about Jada Pinkett's disorder. Give me a fucking break. Just suck it up. You're super rich. Take the joke and let's move on with life. Honestly, that's my first thing there. So I think she's a little bit of a Nancy for taking it the way she did. However, I'm not even sure she really took it that hard. All she really had to do was give Will Smith the look. And apparently the look from her just sends
go catch a case for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like literally. And we can kind of start there. I don't even really blame Will Smith or Jada here. I really don't. I blame their relationship. That's kind of my hot take on the whole goddamn thing. Cause it was just, it was
so fucking strange years ago.
Yeah. And for anybody that didn't know, and I wasn't privy to this because one, I don't give two shits about Will Smith's personal life, but apparently if you're watching Entertainment Tonight or stuff like that, Jada was pretty, do we want to say proud or boasting of the fact that she had been unfaithful to Will? Like, what is this?
Hold on, dude. I have this queued up. I could play it for everyone.
Well, can we do that? I think we can, right?
I think we can. We're just going to have to give credit where credit's due, right?
Hey, you know, Bob, while you're doing that, I sure wish that I had another Irish old fashioned because those were so good. And I just sucked mine down like candy. But
didn't you make two? Okay.
Here it is, Bobby. Oh, this one's better than the first.
I sent it to Jess because I wanted her to have a little bit of backstory. Because I was just like, she basically said, I don't give a fuck. You weren't fulfilling my needs. So I went and got a 20-year-old. So listen, here's the whole interview that she did on her show on the Red Table. So this credit goes to VidKing22 on TikTok. Okay. I don't care who they credit it for, but that's who I got it from.
Okay.
We broke up. And then what did you do, Jada? Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August. Yes, we know entanglement is vague as hell, but thankfully, Will pressed her to be more clear. An entanglement? Yes. Yes. A relationship? Yes, it was a relationship. Absolutely. We also got clarity on the misconception that Will gave August permission to sleep with his wife. The only person that could give permission in that particular circumstance is myself. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But what August was probably trying to communicate, because I could actually see how he would perceive it as permission because we were separated amicably. And I think he also wanted to make it clear that he's not a homewrecker. Now, if you're like us, you're probably wondering why August? Well, we'll let Jada explain it. I just wanted to feel good. It had been so long.
Poor Jada. You know what I mean?
Felt good.
God, she's suffering.
Joy to just help heal somebody. Eventually, August broke things off and they haven't really talked since. And the Smiths claim they are now stronger than ever.
Wow. Okay, so they are very progressive. Well, first of all,
there's a lot to unpack there.
And I'm not even gonna say what Jada did. I'm not gonna like get on a high horse here or anything like that. But look, when you publicly again show pretty much zero remorse, let's just that's how I took it right there. There wasn't like a, you know what, I did this because I'm starving for attention. Me and Will don't have sex much anymore. We're not on the same page. We're never in the same house. He's always working, blah, 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 whatever it is. I get all that stuff. But she didn't even go into that at all. She just talked about me. And this is what I did for me. And let's joke about it being an entanglement. I don't know if that's some kind of weird little new sex position I got to check out. That's kind of like a pretzel or something like that. But okay. Interesting. I can see the bottling happen on Will Smith's
yes.
Head. You know what I mean?
You should see his facial expressions. From the looks of it, this was from my opinion, from the looks of his face and how he's taking that conversation, is that it's Jada's way or the highway, right? And he has to accept this or he gets nothing, right? And the weird thing about that is how she's been able to put the spell over him. Like, there's definitely intimacy and trust problems in this relationship that might be irrevocable, right?
Well, if there wasn't, there should be now,
right? So it looks like, by all means, this should not be a marriage that you would defend by slapping a man and potentially catching a felony, right? That's not a marriage that should be defended in that way. How come he didn't slap that dude that was like banging his wife? You know what I mean? Or was he in the corner sitting in a chair? I don't know.
Well, so, here's what I think. I think he would have, maybe, but it's not like they were in the same room together. But fast forward to what happened during the Oscars, this is already festering inside of him.
Yep.
And then he takes one look after, and we both know this, after already laughing at the initial joke made by Chris Rock because it was fucking funny, and he knew it was non-threatening, not a low blow. It was actually probably well done. It was a off the cuff joke. It wasn't one of his scripted jokes, which I thought was kind of interesting, but yet it was a softball kind of a joke, but he just needed a reason to explode. And the face from Jada kind of is like, hey, this is why I fucking cheat on you, homie. You know what I mean?
Exactly that. So because of the context now of that interview, that in that conversation that they were having, that look that she gave him after was exactly that. See, this is the kind of shit that's why I'm unhappy. And then he had to go do something about it, when really what he should probably do is either have an open marriage and move out, right?
Or get a divorce.
Yeah.
I mean,
the marriage that you knew from fucking the early 2000s, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
That ship has left harbor, dude. That ain't coming back. You know, so it's time to now accept the new relationship as it has evolved and move on with that and find content. And if you can't find content in that, Buddha would say that it's time for you to move on from that to find your content, because that is the whole search of Zen. After all, to be in something that makes you miserable enough to go slap your friend. Like he's known Chris Rock for 20 years, right? So to do that in that kind of capacity at a company fucking event.
Yeah.
Right.
The company event.
Just tells the whole world that how fucking discontent you are with your relationship and your life. And it's time for him to reevaluate. I told Jess the night it happened, I said, I think Will Smith just ended his acting career.
To a large extent. Now, that's maybe being over dramatic in the sense he's probably not canceled. He's not even nearly canceled like what happened to Mel Gibson after his
just fucking stopped production on his fucking movie.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. He's going to suffer. Is he going to be able to come back from it? Probably. You know what I mean? But again, this is not where he was at in the stratosphere right now. You know what I mean? The upward trajectory of just getting Best Actor. His first Academy Award, too, mind you, was this last weekend or whatever. And that's definitely tainted now. And it literally did. It did snuff out what would potentially be like the superstardom beyond superstardom that he had, because he was always, remember back in the day too, if you go back to when Jada and him were probably cool and everything, he was the summer blockbuster guy, right? Back in the day, every summer for like 6 or 7 years, Will Smith
up until Wild Wild West.
Yeah. But hey, he got 20 million for that movie. So there's that. But yeah, that guy, he went from doing that to doing like biopics like Ali, like King Richard. He's really done a great job.
Concussion, he did a great job. Yeah. He got snubbed in the nomination there. He probably should have been, but hey, if he wasn't in the top 5 or 6 actors for that category, he was right underneath them. Like, he did a really good job there.
And this just goes to show you how much the relationship with him and Jada is so far gone that he consciously, as a smart man, knew that this is his moment, and this is his moment to kind of put a stamp on the rest of his career. And he totally fucked it up. By doing something. And now switching from the relationship here to what Will Smith did wrong, obviously. What he should have done, what any rational man would have done if he didn't like the joke and it really upset his wife, is just fucking bite his lip and white knuckle it until after the awards, talk to Chris Rock, after on one of the after parties, be like, hey dude, really didn't like that, man. I mean, you're my boy and everything, but me and Jada, we're on some Rocky shit right now, if you don't know already. And I don't really need that kind of extra like gas right now on this fire that we got going on, man. Pump the brakes. Let's not do that anymore. We're still boys, whatever it is. Anything besides get up in the middle of the company event, you know what I mean, during somebody else's speech, essentially, right? If we want to keep equating this to the corporate world, and committing battery on the man in front of everybody,
which is what it was.
Yeah, no, straight up battery. What I hear too is I love everybody talking about how it was a hoax. It wasn't a hoax. The LAPD was on standby to do to Will whatever Chris Rock said needed to be done, essentially. And the Academy people were like, hey, we're here. We're ready to arrest him if you want us to do that. And apparently Chris Rock said, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to Will.
I broke that down because I'm in my law class, right? And I'm glad my professor talked about it, because I was a little bit confused, thinking like, civil versus criminal, right? Civil is harm against a person, right? And you're looking for damages and whatever. But criminal is actually an act against the state. It's an act against the set of laws that we're all governed by, right? So when a criminal action happens like this, it's the state of California versus Will Smith, right? So and I was like, why wouldn't the state just fucking pursue this anyway? There's all the evidence there. And it's the language of the battery. So to commit a battery, the person receiving the battery, right? The battery
The battery.
That person has to have unwanted contact, physical contact, right? So when they say they're pressing charges, that's kind of vague, and that's like putting it in a language that the layperson can relate to, but that's not exactly the story here. So when they say it's like he's refusing to press charges, what he's essentially doing is refusing to cooperate with the case.
Yeah.
Right. So then if they say, did you willfully or unwillfully receive this? And he could just easily say, no, I had that coming. Boom. Case dismissed, because now there is no charge.
Well, basically, they need his buy-in. They need his go-ahead to have a case is the issue. And don't get me wrong, you're absolutely right. The state of California would like to pursue any case. That's a case. That's just what the district attorney's office,
especially a public one like this.
Yeah, that's just what they want to do.
Would fucking be fighting for it.
Right? Yeah, they're foaming at the mouth to be able to indict Will Smith on battery.
Put Will Smith away. Yeah.
However, and we all know this too, it didn't happen because one, he wasn't going to cooperate with it. He wasn't going to push it forward, and he knew what he was doing there. And I think he did the bigger thing. I really do. I don't know.
He acted like a 50-some-year-old dude, unlike Will Smith.
Yeah, 100%. Instead of like a 20-year-old brat that just got cheated on or something like that, he's still trying to hang on to his toxic girlfriend that he should probably just let go and move on with this fucking amazing life that he could have. Whew. But yeah, so there's that.
Yeah, your kids are grown, Will. You can just leave, and no one would care.
Yeah, right.
You get your house, but you probably have all that Wild West money. You'll get another one.
And I don't know if you saw it too, because I do agree to a certain extent, but there was an interview, I think I might have said it to you, interview with Jim Carrey. And they were getting his opinion on it. And he's like, that was sickening. And he was talking about the standing ovation that Will Smith got like 10 minutes later when he got listed as. Now, listen, to everybody in the crowd's credit, what do you do when they just move on with the show after seeing a shit show like that happen? You know what I mean? Do you not clap at all? Do you boycott? No, you kind of just go through the motion. So I'm hard pressed to say everybody should have just started getting up and booing, because they're already in shock to a certain extent on like what they just watched.
That's a great point. Yeah. So half of the people thought it was just staged. That are at the show, because shit, when we first saw it, we're like, that's probably planned. But then when you actually see him yelling and cussing afterwards, and you see his face, like, that ain't staged. Will Smith ain't that good of an actor, so that ain't staged, right? And then after that, so half of the audience thinks it's part of the show, and they're just moving on with normal, not even thinking another thing of it. And then the other half, like you said, are in kind of shock. Like, I don't really know how to act right now. Did this guy just, I mean, the cops didn't come, and the rest are confused. So I think Jim Carrey, he's right, but he didn't consider that. And to go as far as, well, Hollywood's discussing, to some extent,
he had the benefit of being able to look at it after the fact. You know what I mean? Again, like we're saying, it's the difference of being involved in a horrific car accident and being a bystander watching it, or watching something on TV and then giving you feedback about what you would have done later.
Yeah, because it's not like he was there. Jim Carrey's never been invited to an Oscars.
And and as a stiff truth here, I think he should have. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, or his portrayal is Andy Kaufman. I think we're outstanding. But yeah, no, again, what he did have a good point on, and where Chris Rock was definitely the bigger man, he could have easily said, yeah, not only do I want to press charges, I want to sue this guy for $200 million, because literally what he just did in public could fucking ruin and taint my career for the rest of my life. Like that's a smack heard around the world that's going to reverberate online and virally for the next fucking 20, 30 years easily. You know what I mean? With the same kind of momentum and smear ability that you would have initially. So he does have a really good point there. Like there was a lot of things. If Will Smith and him weren't friends, or if Chris Rock wanted to be like a total asshole about this, he very well could have fucked Will Smith way harder than he's getting screwed right now. You know what I mean? So there is that. But again, I think it was really interesting. You watch Chris Rock a little bit later in the telecast, and he's literally looking at people in the crowd that are looking at him and be like, hey, was that planned, dude? What's going on? And he's like shrugging his shoulders, like, I don't know what the fuck has happened, dude. Like, this is crazy. So it's interesting. I would tell you this. I know people have beat the shit out of this story. No pun intended.
So people have just slapped the shit out of this story.
But I'm gonna just again I push back a little bit on the naysayers of why this should be talked about. It was fucking troubling. You know what I mean? It was something like the most prestigious event of the year for Hollywood elites, and you literally have some Jerry Springer-esque shit happening on there with somebody that should be just leaps and bounds ahead of that and class and dignity and pride. And let's face it, we kind of idolize celebrities, especially in this country. We look up to them, whether or not we should or not. And I think Will Smith let down a lot of people. So there's that.
And formally, I apologize, Jim. Jim Carrey, like you said, has given some Oscar-worthy performances. He was actually nominated for a Golden Globe for Eternal and for Man on the Moon. So there's both, not for by the Academy, but obviously, typically those that get nominated for the Golden Globe get nominated by the Academy. But because he's Jim Carrey, he probably didn't.
Yeah, that's a whole different
nother show.
I'll tell you what. But so moving on from that, I think everybody knows what me and Bob think about this. It was interesting. I don't think we're extremely unique, but I think it was a good thing to talk about here because I think there's a lot going on there. I mean, you could look at it just one-sided and surface level and be like, wow, Will Smith can't control his anger. He's an idiot. But I do
have something else to say.
Go ahead.
Beyond the Will Smith and the Chris Rock thing, before we move on to our next topic, I feel that the Academy didn't handle it at all. And that's like a terrible thing. Like when Will Smith was coming off the stage, he should have been like tackled by security and fucking escorted out of the building and then talk to the cops, and they've been like, then decide if it's going to be a crime or not, because it was obviously a crime. We all witnessed it, right? But the fact that they let him go back to his seat like it was just like a normal thing, it speaks to a lot of what Jim Carrey was saying about the Hollywood elitist thing, right? If it were me and you that went up on that stage, slapped the shit out of Chris Rock, the cops would have fucking tackled us before we even got a chance to get to him. Right?
But they would have tackled us like before we got on the stage. We would have been escorted out in a very stern manner. You know what I mean? It's
pretty disconcerting that Will Smith can walk, slaps the shit out of someone because of, let's be honest, his fucking delusions of grandeur and his elitist lifestyle. He probably feels like he can slap people with no repercussions, obviously, because he did, right? And it's true because there are no repercussions. He can actually do that, right? So that was disappointing, and I think that the Academy should have done that. And I know he resigned from the Academy, but that doesn't really mean anything.
He didn't give up his award. He still gets Best Actor, right?
He didn't give up his award. Then if he gets nominated again, he'll get put back into the Academy automatically, as their bylaws are. So it doesn't even like nothing really matters.
It was an empty gesture, is what it was. He had to do something, and he was like, you know what? This actually means nothing, but it looks like something I'm doing in the right direction, so I'm going to go ahead and do that publicly.
It's like Putin putting sanctions on U.S. diplomats for traveling to Russia.
Fuck Putin. Hey,
because we're all dying to go to Russia right now.
Speaking of which, maybe later after we're done with the show, we celebrate with some more fuck Putin shocks, just because those were good, and I think they got a good point behind them, a good message behind drinking alcohol, and I always like that. You know what I mean?
That's true. So, enough about Will Smith fucking his career over. Let's talk about how Josh Allen got fucked over in the last fucking playoffs.
Here we go, baby. NFL updates, NFL news.
There's so much about the NFL. We'll probably end the show on this, but we do have other topics. But there's so much going on right now in the NFL. It's fucking crazy.
There really is. But here, I mean, that was a beautiful transition, Bobby. I'm going to give you a little clap here. Just go ahead and start us off here. What are you even speaking about, my friend? We saw that playoff game. Do tell more.
Last year's divisional round, the most epic NFL game arguably to ever be played, at least in the playoffs, happened. Right.
Definitely.
And it's Josh Allen and the Bills just tearing shit up against the Kansas City defense. And then it's also Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes just tearing shit up against the Bills defense. And neither one could stop each other. Well, that's not true. Once the fourth quarter started, neither one could stop each other for the rest of the game.
Well, they both felt the pressure. And I think both of those quarterbacks are lights out when the pressure mounts. You know what I mean? So they did a great job. But either way, everybody knows from this game that it ended fairly in the sense like these are the rules, right? Because they did shoot it out like fucking son of a bitches. And then all of a sudden, And we talked about this during the game. Remember, you called me during the game. We called each other like every 20 minutes to have another
Once
drink.
the coin toss happened.
Yeah, you're like,
I was like, that's that.
Yeah. Once Josh Allen called tails or whatever it was, and it was heads or vice versa. I can't remember right now, but you're like, oh, that's game. And like, we kind of knew the momentum they both had. Whoever got that fucking ball first was going to put that in the end zone. And the way the rules are, once overtime hits, first person to score a touchdown wins the game. Meaning, if you do it right out of the gate, there's no opportunity for anybody to come back with a rebuttal, so to speak, drive. Funny enough, the owners that brought this up, I don't know why this is funny to me. It just is interesting because they weren't involved at all. But the owners of the Colts and the Eagles were the one that kind of brought this to the owners.
The Eagles is Jeffrey Lurie.
Yeah.
And the Colts is Jim Irsay.
Jim Irsay is a hardcore.
Look at me go. That's off the top of my head, baby. I am a fucking football nerd.
I do know Jim Irsay because I used to, live in that area in Indianapolis, and he's a hardcore drug addict that gets a lot of guff in Indianapolis, but yet here he is still owning a football team. But yeah, those guys brought this to the table for the owners. And I think only 2 of the owners voted it down, saying, hey, let's change these playoff rules for the playoffs. Just playoff overtime, which I agree with.
That's how the last rule started. And then it was adopted to regular games too.
So we'll see what happens. But we talked about this too. I'm all for making the playoffs just a spectacle, more of a spectacle. I mean, make it like gladiator type-esque fucking championship kind of rounds of just craziness, because this is what's going to draw more people into watching the NFL, and it's going to stick. People
Running
are going to
backs get to carry knives.
It's going to be great. It's fucking intense.
Only in overtime.
Or remember, like the last Boy Scout, like once you hit the playoffs, you can now carry a revolver on you and shoot any lineman in the face that's stopping you from making a touchdown, but only in the fourth quarter. Only in the fourth quarter. Like, we're not fucking barbarians here. You can't.
Would you like to explain the new rule?
Yeah, I do. So essentially what's going to happen here now with the new overtime rule for the playoffs now is if we have one of these lights out games, which again, we had like 3 or 4 of them during this round of the playoffs this year. It was really, really a great playoff run for spectators. But now, if you're going to win the game outright as a team in overtime for the playoffs, you not only have to score a touchdown, but you have to go ahead and get the 2-point conversion. If you don't, the other team is going to have the right to reciprocate and do the same thing. So it kind of makes things a little bit more justified in the sense that, hey, if you're the better team, you got to put the fucking nail in the coffin right out of the gate and score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. If not, and you just score a touchdown and an extra point, or if you fail at the 2-point conversion, because you're going to try for it to end the game, then the other team gets to do the same thing, which I think, and we talked about this, if they would have had this rule instilled this last year, I think the Bills are at least in the Super Bowl. That's just my opinion right there. I think there was too much momentum going on, but at least this could have happened. I think that game maybe goes on for another 20 or 30 minutes and fucking Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen just go back and forth, almost like a fucking, like an Olympic ping pong match. And who knows what would have happened, but I like the rule, and that's kind of how I see it.
So first off, I do want to explain some logistics about football, right? The reason that the Bills and the Chiefs were able to kind of stop each other the whole game until the fourth quarter is because you had 2 electric fucking offenses, right? That were held by, mediocre defenses. And the Bills defense is good, right? But they can't get pressure on the quarterback. So eventually when you have to chase Tyreek Hill around all game and you have to chase Kelsey around all game, you start getting gassed, right? So that constant reaction and following guys around that are faster than normal guys that you cover all year long starts wearing on you. That challenge of you trying to get to the quarterback on almost like 90% pass plays that the Chiefs are running that game. And then Patrick Mahomes' quick release, always getting rid of the ball in time before you get there. That starts gassing the linemen. And it was the same on both sides of the field, right? So by the time the fourth quarter runs around, those linemen are physically decrepit as to the shape that they were in the first quarter, which is why at the end of the game that they started getting gassed and they stopped like being able to cover anyone. And then these 2 electric quarterbacks that are just money when the pressure's on were fucking being what they are. And that's fucking incredible in prime time, right?
And to put it in perspective, the defenses were feeling like Chris Rock post slap. You know what I mean? By this time. Yeah, 100%.
So the whole deal about this when they were voting is some of the owners have said, you know what? I don't think it's fair that games come down to a gas defense not being able to stop a high octane offense in the playoffs. which is 100%. Because if you want to rewind that back 20 years, if this rule was in place, how many Super Bowls does Tom Brady have? How many fucking Super Bowls did Adam Vinatieri win Tom Brady on a fucking field goal in overtime or a field goal in the fourth quarter?
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like just like that's just that knowing that a field goal wins it. If you knew that a field goal would not win it, it would change so many games over the last couple of decades.
That's a really good point, Bob. I didn't really think about it. That I didn't go that deep, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That kind of was I wouldn't say easy because that's the hardest job a kicker can possibly achieve. You know what I mean?
Unless you're the Cincinnati kicker, McPherson. That dude doesn't give a fuck.
Well, he'll go up. As everybody knows, McPherson goes up to kick in overtime with a scotch in hand with a cigar because he's already celebrating. That's how confident
he gives it to the chain guys. He's like, hold my scotch. I gotta go in this game, buddy.
He's like, you know what? Hold on. Let me just take the scotch. You hold my cigar. I can't have the smoke in my face.
For real.
Seriously. No, but that's a really good point. I love the rule. I think it's great. And I love what they did. I know you believe, and I'm kind of got the sneaking suspicion too, this might go ahead and leak again into the regular season in due time in the future. But I think only if it proves very satisfactory, right, in the playoffs to come. So, but I like what they did. I think it's good where it is now. I'm not a big fan of ties, though. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't like how games end in ties. I don't think that should happen because it happens in shitty sports like soccer. And I don't think that should be really incorporated long-term for the NFL, but that's just a little sidebar right there, Bob. So there.
So I think they're great rule changes. And I'm glad that they didn't have to fucking have a player strike in the NFL to enforce these changes or get these changes passed like baseball did. So
nice work again.
So MLB recently had a strike, and for those that aren't paying attention because it's spring ball, only the true fucking diehard boner-ridden nerds about baseball really know that there was even a strike because the season hadn't started yet. But there was a strike this year where baseball players said, "Fuck you, we want some changes." So the owners caved and gave them all of their demands eventually because they like money. And so a couple of the things that happened was the National League no longer has the National League now has a designated hitter. So forever the National League, so there was no DH, right? In the strike in the 90s, and I believe is where the DH started. In like 94 or some shit like that. I'm probably wrong in this because I'm not a huge baseball nerd. For basketball, I would know. But so the National League did not have a DH, so pitchers always have to bat, right?
Wouldn't that be weird if there was designated hitters in the NBA? Just some guy that can't play. Oh, like Carmelo Anthony, like somebody like that.
Like,
you know?
I'm a designated 3-point shooter. That's it. That's all.
I just come. Oh no, I'm not going to run back on the other side of the court.
Defense. That'll pay me for defense.
That's not my deal, baby.
But yeah, on your own, man. I'm going to stand at the 3-point line the whole time. So one of the things that came is the National League now has a DH, and that's fucking huge.
That's really big, really big. And we talked about this. I really didn't even know that wasn't the case for the longest time. I honestly thought there was designated hitters for all time on both sides of the table, but I didn't look into that deep enough. And I appreciate you pointing that out. First of all, I just got to say that.
So the disadvantage in the National League, if you don't have a DH, that means every person that plays defense must bat. That's baseball.
Hence pitchers. And usually people just loving it when pitchers have to get up to bat and they have 2 outs. You know what I mean? Like, great, pitchers up. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a rule of baseball in general. That's how baseball's played. But the MLB made this DH rule, right, to where you can have a designated hitter sub one person in your lineup, and he's the designated hitter for that person, which means obviously you have your designated hitter that's a slammer hitting for your pitcher because pitchers don't really hit unless you're
Randy Johnson hit a couple home runs, didn't he?
Well, the pitcher for the Angels, Matsamura, I forget his name.
What about Clemens? All pumped up on fucking roids and shit. He didn't knock a couple out.
Well, the Japanese pitcher in Atlanta actually like matches. He could be a 30-30 guy if he wasn't a pitcher. Yeah. So beyond that, I don't remember his name. And if I say the wrong name, I'm just racist. So I'm not gonna. So extra inning rules, starting in the extra innings, right? They changed the rule last year to start putting a guy on second base to like avoid these 18 inning games and wearing people out and trying to prevent injuries was like the claim and everything.
Sure.
But they just like put that back to normal. So there's no more of that. Double headers. Last year, they had double headers where they did 2 7-inning games if you're double headers. When really, it's always been 2 9-inning because it's professionals. You just put in other people. But anyway, so that changed back. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a pitch clock rule change. Let's see, the rule banning the shift. This ban is a highly controversial and will mean that the teams can no longer overload their infield to one side or another, and instead will have to play their traditional positions. That's huge.
You know what I think baseball needs? I think baseball needs a certain element of integration with some other contact sports, very similar to how they goofed about it in basketball. Do you remember that, where there was like people tackling people at third base and shit like that? Especially from a television land spectator, it's hard to watch every game of baseball until it gets to like the All-Star break. You know what I mean? That's where it really gets for me to start like watching baseball games, because they can be quite drab. I will say this: watching golf on TV and watching baseball, that's a nice little Sunday nap for me, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying?
Watching anything, any sport on a Sunday is a fucking nap for me.
Except for football. Come on.
All of them.
Stay with me. Stay with me, Bob.
I'll pass out at football too, but that's why I record all the games. I'll just watch them later.
Touche, Bob. Touche. Well, that is big shit here. I guess it would be a whole nother show here to see how much more we need to give Major League Baseball players. I think they're the highest paid sports players in the world out of all sports. That's just the top of my head. There's no salary cap.
Probably basketball players.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Those guys make ridiculous money, dude. They'll sign like $200 million contracts for like 4 years.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I know that baseball players do get paid a lot.
Yeah,
they do. NFL players are surprisingly modestly paid compared to the other sports leagues.
We say that, which is funny because Patrick Mahomes got like a $500 million contract like the other year. I thought
it was $1 billion.
No, it's a $500 million. 500 million.
$500 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which again, for like, call it 6 years of work or whatever it is, not a bad payday.
You know what it's called? It's called 10 years of no Super Bowl. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, especially when that shit's guaranteed. And, and we'll probably update people on some more goings-ons, as we'll say, in the NFL. Hey, for instance, I'll just go ahead and drop you on this one. Devonte Parker to the Patriots. Interesting. Interesting.
And yeah, that's the trade that happened today. I was wondering what they meant by the Dolphins trade. I was like, well, so much for the Legion of Zoom or whatever they were trying to brand there.
Dude,
right?
Well, it's Devonte Parker and like a draft pick for this year to the Patriots. And what the Dolphins got in return, which was interesting to me, was a high draft pick for 2023. So the Dolphins are really looking to rebuild, and they're kind of making look. They got Tyreek Hill the other week. You know what I mean? Devonte Parker could take a fucking hike. He's to them they was probably dead weight to a certain extent. But the Patriots did not have a veteran receiver in there. Their most veteran receiver was Jacoby Myers. Now they got fucking Devonte Parker in there. And Bill Belichick. That's all I got to say. This could be, dude. I will say this.
And Matt Jones is progressing nicely.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I will say this as it's lining up for this season coming up for the NFL. I think the AFC East is very, very scary. Or is it North? Is it North?
It's East.
Yes, East, right? Yeah, the East with the Bills. The Bills, Dolphins. Well, the Jets. I mean, the Jets are, whatever.
Prediction: the Bills, of course, obviously slated to win that division, but I think the Patriots take the wild card spot in the NFC.
But honestly, I see the Dolphins being right there too now. I mean, honestly, we'll see what happens here. And then on the flip side here too, what was I going to say too? There's another division that just looks really, really nasty right now.
AFC West.
Yes, the AFC West. Yes, I think every team there legitimately, they could literally beat the shit out of each other, and you have no idea who's going to come out on top, right? Because you got Oakland, Kansas City, Chargers were already poised, and now Broncos are completely rejuvenated with Russell Wilson.
I think it's safe to say that's the best division of football, and I don't even think it's close. Like, I think it's the AFC West and everybody else. Like the chance of the Super Bowl winner coming from the AFC has got to be like 5-1. It's got to be.
And don't forget, a man that just got himself a second ring with his second team last year has now moved on to the Bills on the defense again, and Von Miller. So
no, that's a crazy one.
Dude, is he gonna try to do the trifecta? Is he gonna do like just bam, bam, bam? He's like Broncos, fucking Rams, fucking back to this division. You know what I mean? Wow.
He could. Did you see who the Rams signed? They signed Bobby Wagner, arguably
your boy,
the best linebacker in football.
And Bob's boy, honestly, you've had a chub for Mr. Wagner for a while because he's a Cowboy, right?
Hey, Bob, no, he's
Wasn't he?
Seahawk.
I thought he was.
No, Hall of Famer from the Seahawks, guaranteed Hall of Famer. But I think obviously the Russell Wilson quarterback signing is probably the biggest one in free agency. But I think the move that no one's talking about that I think is going to be fucking huge, it's going to pay huge dividends, is Matt Ryan to the fucking Colts. I think that's a subtle move that no one's really paying attention to. Matt Ryan's going to have a huge axe to grind, being a probably Hall of Fame quarterback, right? To now a defense that has the best rushing game in football and one of the better defenses in football. Now they have Matt Ryan making decisions back there. I think they have a lot of potential. T.Y. Hilton's coming back. They got another young receiver there that's doing well. They have a lot of weapons. I really think that Indianapolis is going to be a really fucking good team next year.
I'll say this too, and he doesn't nearly have, I guess, the fame status or whatever, although maybe he should. But Matt Ryan's like very much like a Dan Marino. You know what I mean? He's always been an elite quarterback that's been drowned by so almost there kind of teams, unfortunately, on a whole. And it's just never been doing it completely. The complete package has never been for him in the Atlanta Falcons. So I think it's a good move. I think it's interesting. I think it's a huge step up from Carson Wentz because we'll take your garbage. You know what I mean? Colts, we'll just go ahead and do that. No, so there's that.
Well, it's the Washington thing to do. I would say their name,
as we know,
always changing.
Yeah. It's called Washington fucking douchebags. Well, with that being said, you know what? I've kept a good eye on time and we are out of it, Bob. We are out of it. So that's okay. We literally had one more thing we want to mention. You could just drop that now. We don't really got to mull it over too much.
Oh, yeah. Friday, New Mexico started selling weed legally
to everyone. Yeah, to everyone.
Stores.
Yeah, no, I mean, not like you couldn't go buy weed in Albuquerque like on Central like 10 years ago or anything like that.
Of course you could. You could go Haber some weed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, April 1st, New Mexico started selling recreational marijuana for recreational consumption. Interesting to see what comes of that. We'll keep everyone apprised. And then the House passed nationally fucking recognized legalization of marijuana and decriminalization and expunging all records. So we'll see what happens there.
And I think we talk about that a little more on our next episode here, because I have a little bit to say about that. I think it deserves a little bit more dialogue. This is something where I honestly think we're poised to strike now to a certain extent. And I think something you mentioned to me earlier this week is I don't think it's going to be taken as seriously as it should be. Maybe because of midterms, maybe because of whatever, or fear of not having enough votes. But I think you just kind of go for it right now. But we'll talk more about that next week, because I think we got to dive into that with a little bit more dialogue than we have time for right now.
You heard it here first, folks. Next week, we're talking weed. Well, that's it. This has been a great show. I love our drinks. I'm about due for another one. I'm going to go make another one. Then we'll get back and we'll edit this show. But you know what? Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. Hit us up on Patreon. Give us $1 if you think that we need it. That would be much appreciated. Like us and subscribe on YouTube, on anywhere where you get your podcast. We are there. So comment on us and spread the word.
Yes, and spread them cheeks. And
I'm Bob West. I have an asshole of a 12-year-old boy.
And with that said, I'm Scott Casanova. We're out. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.